Alright guys, this is part 1 to Stormworks component modding. First of all, we're going to go over setting up everything, making things actually going to be nice for y'all. So first things first, make sure you have Blender installed, okay? And you're going to want to just have that open, like so. So all you got to do is just make it a quick environment like this. I like to turn off all the guides and the axes just so it's not a plain environment. You then want to click on this little button up here, make sure that's selected. Go down here, go attribute, because Stormworks only accepts the vertex colors. So a good way to tell that is your texture paint. You can drag this over, you don't need that, sorry. So yeah, in texture paint, you can create a simple cube. And on this cube, you'll see vertex paint, okay? So when I paint this cube, whatever color I want, doesn't really matter, like so, that will now show as that color in Stormworks, okay? So this is important. Now, we're gonna go through a few things. Okay, so to start, we're gonna go over the component modding API and what a few things mean. So first things first, we're gonna tackle meshes, and everything is gonna be in other videos, okay? So for meshes, like I said, only accepts the vertex colors. So you got to do a lot of the work in Blender if you want to color the mesh, okay? So this is shown in asset modding better. They have much better description of what to expect. So if I do material, you'll see here it says use material glass as the material name for the glass parts of the mesh, and the material additive as the material name for the additive parts of the mesh. Additive as in the glowing stuff, the glass as in the glass texture. The glass texture is already built into the game, so showing you how this would work in Blender is very basic. So see this cube? The best thing you can do is if you leave it as no model, like no mesh, no material, sorry, it will still render and everything just fine in game. You'll still have your vertex color. It's the safest way of doing it, so make sure nothing's interfering. However, let's say you want this cube to be glass instead. How do we do that? Very simple. We go to new. See, this is called material 001. What you do is change it to material glass. That's it. That's all you gotta do. So when you export this, it will show as material glass. The game will automatically detect that when it's compiling the mesh, and it'll make this cube or glass. We don't need this texture for now. So as you can see, it's here. But see this other garbage material that we don't need. To clean up any materials that we aren't using to make things nice, it's very simple. You just go File, Clean Up, Purge Unused Data. So we don't need to purge our brushes, but we can get rid of all this other stuff we don't want. We go Delete, bang, delete 6 data blocks, and now those empty materials we weren't using are now cleaned up for us, okay? So let's go ahead and import our 3D model that we want to have in game. A really good website to use is Sketchfab. As you can see, I've searched up engine here, set the category to cars and vehicles, and I set the type to, well, downloadable type. You can just do human generated. AI generated stuff usually isn't that good. Okay, so a cool engine there, as you can see, this is paid. See, it says available on store. So anything that's paid, obviously if you don't want to pay money, then we're gonna have to find something else. Have a look at this model. Okay, that's pretty cool. This guy has made it all the separate parts. If you want separate parts, have a look, yeah. And you could make this, but let's just get something really basic and super simple. Okay, so this is a cool engine. Let's just say we want this just for now. As you can see, there's a lot of things here. So when you import this, it can't have a material, because materials don't even load into Stormworks. So this would, you got to picture this as all one color. So each one of these little different colors and stuff, you have to separate that, because all this will be combined into one mesh. So you have to separate, you have to select everything in Blender, and the right click and do separate. So a good way of showing you this would be to go object mode, click on that, press tab to switch into edit mode. You have to select, so you either go face select, so you could do 1, 2, 3, changes it, or you could just click on the face. Select the face, then you do separate by selection. So now when I go back into object mode, make sure you click off, then click back on. I do press G and then go onto an axis that I want. So it's just Z, X, Y. move out X, see how that's different? Which means that if I vertex paint, I can vertex paint, go to here, brush, change your brush to other brush you want. I can paint that white, right? And then on this, if I go to here and do vertex, I can paint that black. So if I go back into object mode, go here, go attributes. Now I can see my vertex paints, and you see how this is the black color and this is the other color, right? So it measures on a way larger scale. So you can press Ctrl Z to undo all this. If you want to combine the mesh back, like say you only want to quickly color it, or say you only want to color a certain face without separating the mesh. The reason why I prefer to separate the mesh is because say you want to go back in it later, you don't want to have to reselect everything. Okay, this is already separated for you. Makes it easier just for future proofing. But if you don't want to future proof, you can just go to edit mode, select the face, go to vertex paint, do this. So it only paints the face now that you've selected. So if I go to here, change the color to, I don't know, whatever, green, do that, and go back to object mode, you'll see how just that selected face has been colored. But like I said, it says it measures on a way more complicated scale, and say you accidentally did the wrong color, because a lot of the colors will show up as a lot brighter in Stormworks. So this darkness isn't actually that dark. It'll actually be like more of a lighter gray. So, yeah, you have to keep that in mind. Like this white is like a pure white, even though it doesn't look like that in Blender. It's way brighter in Stormworks. Okay, so that's a cool rule of thumb. Also, if you want to, what I do is these hex colors. You can go ahead and just copy that down, paste it into Discord or whatever, just so you have a backup. Because like you want all the colors to be the same. Like say I change this color to something else, but I want to go back to it, right? So I copy this hex, I put the hex code wherever else. Okay. Because like say if I go to blue and I want to go back to the same exact green, go like that, bang, I'm right back to the exact green. You know what I'm saying? So you just got future proof. So there's a lot of little things like that. Now setting up things, let's go ahead and just get this mesh painted, and let's say we want to export just this basic cube. Go ahead and just do the radial engine actually. Okay, so a good thing to note is see how many triangles and vertices this has. This would not be a good thing. The best thing to go for is something under 100k triangles. Why, you may ask? Well, the game has a 1 megabyte limit. So something that's super complicated, detailed, we're going to have to do a ton of work in Blender to reduce this down to 1 megabyte. Because like when you convert into the mesh and you can then convert the mesh into a compiled bin file, that bin file might be over 1 megabyte of data, which means it's not going to load in properly in Stormworks, okay? It has to be under 1 megabyte. Make it on one, obviously the most consuming thing of that would be the mesh. So you got to find a mesh that's ideally under 100k of vertices, but a tiny engine shouldn't be gigantic file size, okay? So you probably just downloaded a bad engine. So you need to like actually find something that's just a whatever, you know, engine that you want. It doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. So a good like a cool engine. Let's have a look at this one. So this is 47k vertices. You know, that's 7k triangle, sorry, and 23k vertices. This would be okay to use. It's a little on the heavy side for something so basic. This tells me that it isn't necessarily a good mesh to use. Also, it doesn't look the best. So we're going to keep trying to find it. Basically, the best thing you could do for yourself is to find something that's going to be less work for you, okay? This is much better. It's 10k triangles, 5.7k vertices, much better to use, okay? So we want to import this bike engine. Really simple to do. You gotta log in first. So you probably have to create a Sketchfab account to do this. Okay, so here it is. It's a .blend file, which does make things a little bit easier for us. The reason why I don't really like .blend files particularly is because of they have their own layouts of their Blender, which will mess with yours. I'll show you what I mean. So as you can see, I've created a lot of folders, like pinned folders here, that will help you a lot. So like say you want to, if I was you, you're going to want to organize everything as much as possible. So yes, I'm going to save this to bike. So I have mine set to models, component block, bike engine. I'm going to go ahead and save it there. Okay, so now going to this directory, if you want to pin something, it's really basic. You just right click it and just do pin to quick access, and they'll show up on here. Okay, so here's your bike engine. I'm going to go ahead and extract this. Delete the zip because we don't need that, it's extra storage. Okay, here's bike engine.blend. So a good way of getting to this would be to click up here, Control C, go to Blender, open, Control V up here, enter, bike engine.blend. So you see how his environment setup is different? It's kind of weird, right? A lot of the settings can be changed as well. Like, so you have to go back to attribute. So it's better to get a object file than just importing it. But anyways, now we have our mesh. So we're pretty simple now to convert this into something Stormworks wants. Okay, as you can see, our whole thing is kind of yucky looking. And you see how his thing is all weird, and this isn't how I have my Blender set up. So first of all, before we even do anything, we can press Control S to save. But we're going to export this to an FBX. And you only want the mesh, only what's visible. Scale, leave it at 1. I usually do 1.25, but it's all dependent on your actual vehicle that you're putting this on. So you might need to scale up a little bit, scale down a little bit, whatever fits well in your vehicle. So you want to export that FBX. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and open up a new Blender that isn't going to be messed, my settings aren't going to be messed with. Okay, so it's going to go back to my default settings that I like. Okay, I'm going to now import that FBX file. Okay, so all I do is just import FBX, navigate to my directory, and here is my mesh. I'm gonna go ahead and you can press Alt, hold down Alt and middle mouse to kind of move your camera around. Press this to go on the X or the Y, however you want, okay? So I'm gonna press Control S, it's gonna open up a prompt, okay? I'm just gonna say this bike engine.blend, I'm gonna override it. Okay, now as you can see, we kind of just have a basic color here. If we want to change the color all at once, I've downloaded an add-on that's very useful. To download extra add-ons like me, you want to go Edit, Preferences, Add-ons. My add-on is called Vertex Color Selector. To download this, you just go get extensions. You search up Vertex Color. Here it is, right? And you do that and you download it, okay? How this works is I go Tab, Edit Mode. I go press N, go VCS. All right, it says no face color attribute. What does that mean? Well, it means that this is using a material. Okay, so what I've gone ahead and searched up is Blender Material Remover. So delete all material. Someone has made a nice little path, like a nice little script. We do is go into Blender. You then can go to up here, left click. So change from 3D viewport to text editor. You want to go new, paste that in, click run. Then you want to go back, 3D viewport. Now, as you can see, we're back to normal. So if we were to look at this, this had a bunch of meshes, like a bunch of materials. So you can't use materials in Stormworks, okay? Well, you kind of can with .txtr files, but that's a whole different thing. For component block modding, you can't use materials, okay? Basically, there has to be vertex colors. So you don't need the materials, so you might as well just remove them immediately and not even focus on them. So we're going to save that work just by pressing Control S on our keyboard. You always want to save all the time, just in case, okay? There's 2 seconds, press Control S. Now we have a basic color. What you want to do is go to texture paints. You can get rid of, you just drag this over. I'll just leave it like that. You then want to do a vertex paint, okay? So now, if I go into edit mode on this, press N, VCS, and I do find colors, we can see our basic color right here. So instead of having to select whatever we want, we can just do this. You can press A to select everything, but just imagine there's a bunch of different colors here. This is how you select specific colors and specifically color paste. And you also may see how there's a lot of blue lines. So to hide those blue lines, you just click this little button up here. You click the down arrow and you just do this. And there you go. Now it's all normal. Okay. I'm also going to get rid of my grid lines and stuff because they're just kind of in the way. Alright, now I have everything selected. It's going to be really easy. You just go vertex paint. You can do it this way where it's only going to paint your selected faces, but because we're selecting the entire thing, it doesn't matter. We're going to find a nice color. I like doing, like if this is too bright, it's going to be kind of like around here-ish. 3A, 3A is a good one. So you kind of find like 3A, 3A is kind of around here. Kind of this darkness is good for like obviously black things, and then here is okay. See scale to max. Bang. Okay. We're gonna make it a little bit darker. Now, if we go back to object mode, Control S, save that. We go here. We go down arrow, attribute. Okay. Make sure it's not texture, attribute. Okay. You have to keep changing this every time you go to different things. It's annoying. But now we can see our dark. We can see our attribute color. Okay. So now we're getting back to this, we can kind of use this as a really basic reference. I mean, it's kind of useless, so we kind of have to freehand this. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to color it randomly just to kind of show you guys what you can do. Okay, so a good thing you can do is go to edit mode. Okay, so we want to color just these top parts, or just this as an example, okay? So as you can see, his entire mesh is not triangulated. So what you can do mesh. You select everything, okay? So you just press A to select everything. You get mesh, clean up. You can do delete loose. There's nothing loose in this geometry, so that's good. This is a good thing to do if you are oversized in terms of your compiled bin file, because your mesh file that you've used is too big. So this is a good way of doing it. You can do destinate geometry. So if I were to like turn this ratio to 0.5, you see how the geometry gets more and more simple, but this means our looks get more and more bad, so it's not that recommended to do. But yeah, you can do here, you can do face, and you can do triangulate faces, and that triangulates everything for us. You don't have to do it like this, you could just have back to the original, just, it's better just to triangulate it. Yeah, you don't have to do it though. Anyways, now we have everything really easily. We say we want to just color this specific thing, like over here, different color. You go to face select. It's the best. I just like doing face select. Hold on shift. Because if I do this, see how it doesn't select them all? If I just drag, the way I'm just doing this is select the box. If you press W, and you can cycle it. So like you could do like a select like this, or you could do a lasso select, press W, or I'll just like box select, easiest. So yeah, you select a bit, you hold down shift, select a bit more. Make sure so if you select too much, you just hold down shift and then click. Because if I do this, and I don't hold down shift, I'll lose my selection. So you just press Control Z to get your selection back. Press shift and then click to unselect that. Control S to save. Now you do Control L, and select the linked. So whoever made this, they made this all one part. So that ain't gonna work. So you can do select. You can do select like edge loops, kind of select a little bit more, or you can do select similar and then do area, or you can do select. So these are all quick use things. So get used to kind of doing this. This makes things a lot easier. I'm selecting a lot of meshes, like a lot of parts of the mesh at once, but I'm just gonna go ahead and just do it manually really quickly. Okay, now that I have my entire mesh selected and I've saved, I'm going to go ahead and do right click, separate by selection. And separate by selection doesn't actually make anything worse. Sometimes it even makes the compiled mesh smaller. So sometimes it can actually be a good thing. The only reason I'm doing this is because I want to change this color later on. Like say it's a little bit too dark, a little bit too bright. I can adjust that. I don't have to reselect everything, okay? So yeah, this is now red, okay? You just go to object mode, click off, save. You don't have to, I just like spamming save, and then you click it, see? So now when I go to vertex paint, I don't have to select all the faces. I could just color the one thing at once. Okay, so yeah, anyways, so I'm gonna go make a dark color. Just around here is okay. And look, I could just do that. See how much easier that is? So yeah, now I want to go ahead and select a few other things. So let's say like selecting these little grills and stuff like it's gonna be pretty annoying. Like if I press Control L, I can kind of just select it all at once, which is what I'm gonna do. So that's it. Just like select you can select a little bit. Control L. Every model is going to be a little bit different though, so you know, don't expect to get the same performance out of everything. What I'm going to do now is do separate selection. So you can also, some other shortcuts you can do, go back to object mode, unclick everything, click on one of these randomly, you go A, I think, yeah, A, and then you press H, and hides everything. If you press Alt H, unhides everything, okay? It's a quick thing you can do if you need to hide everything and only show one little thing. So now we have our thing that we want to color differently again, same thing, vertex paint, make it a brighter color than the rest of the stuff, paint the entire thing, make sure you get every side, Control S, save that, back to object mode. Now, let's say we want to export this, just to have a look, okay? So you do export, FBX, visible objects, mesh, and we don't need the animation, obviously. Okay, so the reason why I do visible objects is, let's say we have an entire car, okay? So instead of deleting every part we don't want of that car, like say we only want to export the door, okay? Fair enough, right? Instead of having to delete every part, like say we accidentally delete too much and you don't realize until like the next day and you've already restarted Blender, already restarted your PC and you've lost your work, okay? Not a smart thing to do. Best case scenario would be to just hide everything that you don't want and then only export visible objects, okay? So we're going to go ahead and just click override on this because we already have an FBX. We're going to override this current FBX, all right? So a good thing to do is see how we have bike engine.blend. Picture this as a car. This is what I do for my Satsuma. I will show you right now. Satsuma, source. You see how I have everything separated blend files wise? If I do .blend to just show you, you see I have like, you know, Satsuma door 1, like, because, you know, it's other mirrors. Because like meshes don't like it when you mirror them in game. So you have to mirror it in Blender, okay? So you have Satsuma subbody, you know, I have Satsuma suspension, wheel. It's all separate because, like, say I want to go back and only just quickly adjust something really fast, instead of having to hide everything and then show all the little models I need for the wheel, I can just go back to my blend file, instantly load it in, quickly adjust everything, and then that's it. You know, so a good way of showing you that would be to simply, let's just navigate back to our bike engine. So some way of doing that would be to go File, Open Recent, and let's say I want to quickly adjust the trunk of the Satsuma. Say it's like, say the coloring, I just messed up a little bit of coloring, I quickly do that, you know, that I could quickly export it. And then say I want to go back to the bike engine, you know, go back to here, see? So it makes everything a lot easier, like on you. It's just future-proofing. Now I'm going to go ahead and explain what origins are. So I'm going to go ahead and see how these are all separate now. But say I want to move the engine, like say I move the engines here, or the rest of the parts don't follow. How do we fix that? So what you want to do is you do that. So this is you could first select the child of the parents. So you do click one thing, shift left click the next thing, shift left click the parent. Okay, you press Control P. So like the thing you want as the main body, you select the last. Okay, you then do Control P. So CTRL plus P, okay? You do object keep transform, all right? And you do whatever, Control S, save that, all right? And then you just select the parent. Oh, see, it all moves together now. Okay, another thing you can do, when you have multiple objects binded together, they have all different origins, or they most likely will. So you see here, if I click here, see how the way that it works is the mesh shows up based off the center of the Blender world. What does that mean? So see how the z-axis is 2 meters up. If I were to load this in, so if I set this to exactly 2 meters, if I were to load this in, this mesh would render 2 meters above your block where you're placing it, which isn't ideal, right? Because it's off center. To make it on center, you just go ahead and do 0. Okay, but you see how this centers it to the origin. See this little yellow dot right there? That's the origin, okay? That origin isn't exactly center, as you can see. Say you want to center to the little V right here, these little, you know, heat sinks, the pistons, right? Well, we've got to move the center. Some centers may be different, so what you do, you select everything. You do set origin to 3D cursor. Then now that moves, so these 3 separate parts have 3 separate origins. That's now going to stack all the origins perfectly on top of each other on a 3D cursor. The 3D cursor is a little red and white thing, okay? All you do now, very easy, you go Tool, Origins, and you make sure you have parent selected as well, because you want to move the parents. You don't want to, only move the one origin. So now, if I do G, if I select everything, do G, that, see I'm moving the origins now? It's kind of hard to tell, but see that? I'm moving the origin piece, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and just click this X to kind of get a good view. I'm going to go ahead and do G, and then let's have a look. Y goes in the right direction, what we want. Press G, and then Z, move it maybe down, I don't know, here let's just say about this little point. I'm going to flip to the other side now to see how aligned we are on the center. We're pretty center aligned. Maybe move it over a smidge. I think maybe I can, maybe there. I can zoom in, I can press Alt middle mouse, and I can press Y again, flip it over, then I can press G, then X. Okay, Control S, save that work. So now, if we go back to turn that off, select everything, we'll just go ahead and re-zero everything. Our rotation is 90, which means, you can leave it at 90. It doesn't matter, to be honest with you. We see our points now have moved, see that? So we were actually 0.6 meters off. So you just zero that out now. Now we're centered, okay? So a good way to knowing your size is if you click dimensions. See how our total dimensions are. This engine is 4.15 meters big, 4.2 meters wide, but he's 5 meters tall, right? That's quite huge for an engine, right? The way that it works is one block is 1/4 of a meter. Okay, so basic math would say that if our dimension of X was 1 meter, that's 4 blocks long. Exactly 4 blocks long. If our height was 1 meter, that's exactly 4 blocks tall. Okay? If our, height was, let's say, what's 1 meter minus 0.25, okay? That would be X amount of blocks shorter, things like that. It's just simple math, okay? Anyways, now that we have our thing, this may be too big, maybe too small, we'll find out. If you want to make it smaller on the export, you just adjust the scale on the export. Pretty simple. Remember, mesh, only what's visible, no animation. Even though it's a simple build, it's just good to have that built into your habit so you don't forget for like more complex builds. Now we're gonna export that. Now, the way that Blender exports .fbx files isn't what what's it called? Isn't what Stormworks accepts in the mesh converter. So you have to convert it to FBX binary. Okay, so a good website to use, which I've bookmarked. All these websites I have here, I've bookmarked. Like the GeoMeta thing. See, if I want to pull up the component mod compiler really like the API really fast. See how it's just bookmarked. So a lot of these things, if you just bookmark them, it'll save you a lot of time. Creating shortcuts to your Stormworks game files. Like I'll show you. I open up File Explorer. See Stormworks. I have my app data Stormworks here, and then I got my, Steam apps Stormworks here. So it all makes everything a lot easier for you in the future. Because instead of pressing Windows button R, navigating all the way to Stormworks like this, like see little things like here, like see my Stormworks. This takes me straight to my Stormworks vehicles rather than just the roaming. Because most people say do %app data %, then go to roaming, then go to Stormworks, then go to data, then go to vehicles. Like you could just go straight to vehicles. Like you could just do Control C, and then go into Run and Control V, and then you go and press OK, and then it'll just open that every time. So it makes life a lot simpler. These little things go a long way. Okay. So sure, you may think, oh, I can't be bothered to do it, but it's 10 seconds here, 10 seconds there, which is going to add up to hours saved. Like it makes a difference, trust me. Okay. Anyway, so now see, I already have this pinned. I don't have to go to this big thing. I don't have to go all the way to Steam. I don't have to do browse local files. I can just click Stormworks on my file explorer. Okay. I go SDK. Here we are. Okay. This is what's going to contain everything for you. But first of all, you have to make the components file. So all you gotta do, go to your Stormworks, your amp data Stormworks. You go to ROM, data, components. This usually wouldn't be here for most people. Which would lead to a lot of confusion. Like you're thinking, how does this guy have a components file? Really easy to do. You just do new folder, name a components. That's legit it. Okay. What I'm going to do, I'm going to right click it and do open a new window. All right. I'm going to go ahead and just move this over. I'm going to go ahead and go back to Stormworks. I'm going to go to SDK because this is where we're going to run our terminal commands. Okay. Before that though, we have to get an FBX file ready. Okay. Just like all these other stuff. Very easy. You upload your FBX file. So a good way of getting to your FBX file is to see I already have everything done. All I do is right click this. Then I navigate to my components. That's why you want everything organized, everything shortcutted, everything pinned, is because when you need to pull things up, it's not a process of sifting through stuff. It's all there. You get it quickly. It's not an issue. Okay, I got a bike engine, source, Control C, go back to my browser. I then go to here. I then go to Control V, enter, FBX. It's all there. It's a lot faster to do. Here is our nice little model. The coloring looks, don't worry about the coloring. It's different in Stormworks. Okay, you'll see. Click download. Now, because we have our very handy pins, we just go to Stormworks, SDK, and go ahead and just change the name to just bikeengine.fbx. Save it there. So the reason why I save it there specifically is because it just makes running our to like CMD commands a lot simpler. Okay, we don't have to like navigate directories, tell it to look here. You don't have to do any of that. Okay, it's a lot easier. Okay, first things first. If I click Control R, you want to sort by date modified, just so you see like that. You just click it. You know, sort by date modified. You see your stuff. There's bikeengine.fbx. Oh shit. Crap. Okay, there's bikeengine.fbx. All you gotta do is just click this, okay? Right, CMD. Because instead of doing CD to go to directory and then put in your directory, you just do CMD. Now you want to click. I'll show you in a second why. So all you gotta do is write mesh. So the way you even know what to write is if I scroll down, you'll see like texture compiler, component mod compiler, mesh compiler. These are your command what you're gonna use in CMD. So you do mesh underscore compiler. Okay, and you're gonna do name, so it's bike. Since you don't want any spaces because it's kind of annoying, so you just go to rename and just do underscore. Like yeah. So and then it's just bike underscore engine.fbx, makes things easier. So bike underscore engine.fbx. Now we want to set our output path. To do that, it's -O. Then in quotations, you see if I click this again, it goes, oh, it says CMD. What's going on? Very easy. Back, forward. And there we are. Control C that. Go to here. Control V. End quotation. Enter. Here we are. There's our .mesh file. 519 kilobytes. That's well under 1 meg. We're good. Now, we have to compile this into a XML. How do we do that? I have a mesh, but we need to make it a component block. What do we got to do? Let's do that. Okay, so it's going to be very easy, okay? We'll right click, we're going to do new, text document, we're going to name it bike, underscore engine, change.txt to .xml. Press enter, it's going to say, are you sure you want to change it? You can be like, yes. Now some people who've never opened an XML file before, it will say, what do you want to use to open .xml? Just do it in Notepad, none of this Notepad C++, like none of this Notepad++ stuff, none of this Visual Studio Code. Just open a Notepad, okay? It's not a big deal at all, okay? You want to open your XML. There it is. Very simple. What you want to do now, okay, is you just, make another folder. By the end of this, you're going to have 1 million file explorers open, okay? That's just how it is. You want to go to ROM, data, definitions. You want to go to O1 underscore block. This is just the default cube that you build with. You want to go this, just do Control A, Control C, click X. You're going to go to here, Control V. This is our basis now. All you want to do is change the name to just bike, bike engine, whatever we want. Type, what does this mean? Okay, so if we go back, if we take a look at the component modding, if we have a look here, like say we want to move our mesh around, we want to, we want to rotate our mesh, it's very recommended to look through this. Or just all you're going to do, if you want to feed this into AI, to get AI to make a Lua script for you for component block modding, you do this, copy the C, scroll down to the very bottom, and then press Shift, left click. It's going to copy the entire thing. You just Control C and then paste that into AI. It has the API to work off now, and you say, okay, make a Lua script using this API for whatever you want. Okay, and it'll just write straight up for you. You gotta, it's not perfect all the time, but it's gonna be a way easier start on you. Half my stuff I've written for my Lua scripts, it's all AI generated. Okay, it's nothing crazy, man. You don't have to go through all this work. You don't need to do this. Okay. Anyways, so. Alright, so basically to make a Lua component, what a Lua component is, say you want to make any more of it an advanced thing, like say you want to move your mesh around, you want to rotate your mesh, it has to be type attribute 66, okay? And I'll show you what Lua file name that means, okay? So type attribute 66, what does that mean? So you go to here, see type, change to 66. Now immediately after that, just put a little space here like this, you Lua underscore file name equals in a quotation, and we're going to do bike underscore engine dot Lua, Control S. We will make that file in just a second. Okay, now, what does mesh data, mesh 0, mesh 1 mean? Okay, so you can have up to 3 meshes in the one block. Mesh data is like a static mesh. You can't move it. It's just going to show a really basic mesh. It's not going to be anything special. Mesh 0, this is only going to show when it is called to render. What does that mean? So function onRender right here, you see it right here. This is for component rendering. This is for meshes. You can't throw a mesh into onTick because it's gonna just not work. It has to be function onRender. All you gotta do, what that means is that say you want your mesh to move, like let's say I put the bike engine here. I do bike engine, right? Dot mesh. Say I put that here. This is gonna be static. This is now if I do this and then I go to here and then I put it in again. If I do in the Lua, if I move mesh 0, it's going to be showing 2 bike engines now. So what does that mean? I want the bike engine to move, so I'm going to go ahead and just do this. Leave it like that, okay? Now, this is only going to show up when onRender is called. OnRender is only going to call when you spawn in your vehicle, aka when you put the component block into the game environment, okay? So don't worry if you don't see your block, if you don't see the mesh in the builder, you're gonna want to just, if you want to see it in the builder, you just do mesh data name, or you can see mesh editor only name, you can put that in there as well. Control S, there you go, okay? If you want another mesh on top of that, you do mesh 1 name, you put another mesh there. I'll show you what I mean in a second, okay? Now, we want our source block to be invisible because it's gonna look weird with a block inside of our engine. Really easy fix, you see shape 1, change the shape 0 on all of these surfaces. Double check your work. Make sure you don't accidentally delete a quotation. Otherwise, your block is not going to compile properly. Okay. Bias surfaces, you don't have to mess with that. Voxels, you don't have to mess with that. But we do want to have to mess with the logic nodes. So, what I'm going to do is, okay. So what I'm going to do, because I already have a bunch of things made, I'm just going to go like satsumahorn.xml, for example. I'm going to go ahead and copy my logic nodes. Control C. I'm going to go ahead and Control V. I'll put all this stuff in the description just so you can copy right in. Okay, sorry, I did the wrong logic node. So you want the component, like you want the composite signal because you want to be able to move. So I'll put this in the description, obviously. So you want to make sure you copy this properly. Control C. You want to copy the entire logic node thing from the start to the end. It's like like a Lua script. Let's just do that. Control V. Now, obviously, we don't need this mode 1 type 0. What this means is this is a on-off output. Okay. So we don't want that. So obviously, we're just going to. So this is on-off input. Sorry. Basically, what that means is mode 1 is input, mode 0, I think, is output. Type is like on-off, electric, audio, composite, all that stuff is what that means. Okay, so we don't need this. We don't. Obviously, this is just from something else, so we can just do that. Make sure you select it like this. There you go. Looks nice. Okay, you should look like this. Position can stay. Like say we have another. Like so we want another composite for some reason. You can't stack composites. Okay, what does that mean? Well, the reason why voxels have reason why there's bigger voxels for logic nodes is because the logic node has to be inside of a voxel, okay? So what you can do is say you only want, say in the builder you want your block to be 2 voxels big, aka 2 hitboxes, but when it spawns in, you only want the 1 hitbox, okay? you see like this, flag 0. If you do that, then like a wheel, if you notice a wheel block, it has this huge hitbox in the builder, but when you spawn it in, you press F2, it's a tiny hitbox. If not, like none at all. How does that work? The voxel disappears. It's because the flags are set to 0, okay? So delete flags at 1, because if you set it to 0, it can lead to issues where it's like in the builder you can't delete the block properly and stuff. So just leave it at 1 for now. Make sure at least, you need to always have at least one voxel set to flags 1. Okay, if you're having more voxels, like I'll show you. If you're having more, you just simply, you can set this to 0 now, because we have at least one set to 1, and we just move our voxel to somewhere else. And there we go. Right, now we have 2 voxels. So you don't have to do that for this, but anyways, we're getting sidetracked. So now we have our logic node hooked up. Very, good now. Then we can close this. Now all we can do, very simple. See back. That's the engine. It's called, back engine XML. You just Control C, Control V. That's gonna make a copy. You then want to do .lua. Okay, this is what this XML is referring to. Now I'm gonna go and delete all this data. Control S. Now, there's other Lua scripts that I will give you guys. I'm going to go ahead and, okay, I finally managed to find it. I'm a bit blind. What this is completely AI generated. I just fed it the API instead to make it, thing. So to get this to be really simple, I'll explain this further, but basically this is index 0 because you only have the one composite signal. Like, say you have a bool as well, that's going to be index 0 as well, because a bool and a composite can be on the same index, okay? So just index 0, it'll be index 1 if you have 2 composite inputs or whatever, okay? But anyways, so index 0 is perfectly fine. Here's the script, I'll put it in the description. You Control C this, you just paste it into your backengine.lua, and that's pretty much it. Like, you're pretty much done. Now we're just going to compile it, okay? So if we check our work, and we will see that we have XML Lua mesh. You double check our names. So our Lua file name is backengine.lua. So they go, look, yep, that looks right to me. Go to our mesh, backengine.mesh, looks fine to me. Very easy now is we go into the thing. Now we need to compile this component mod. All we got to do is component mod compiler. Make sure your spelling is good. It's very spelling specific, okay? First of all, the way the sequence in which you write it is really important. So I do backengine.lua first, and then the .xml. It's going to render broken because it's going to do the Lua script, and then the Lua script's not going to, it's going to get confused. So just do the XML first, okay? The backengine. Now you can do the .lua. So it should look something like this. And then the very last, you do backengine. It doesn't have to be very last, but just make sure it's after the Lua and the XML. You want to eliminate any potential issues, okay? So see now, you double check, because yeah, okay, it looks good to me. No errors. Like, say if I were to write it wrong and just do like remove the E of the engine, it'll say error asset and doesn't know because it's very specific. So you just press up arrow and down arrow, by the way, to go back to your previous stuff. Very useful, okay? So we go back. Yep, asset's good. Here's backengine.bin. Now you want to open up your components like so, drag that in. There it is. Now we're going to load up Stormworks. Okay, so now that we're in game, we're going to go ahead and open up our workbench. We're going to go ahead and search up, oh, there's bike engine. It looks huge to me. Yeah, it is. Easy way of telling it, just look at the photo. Okay, but anyways, okay, here is our, our engine that we want. As you can see, it's a cool custom mesh, and I can see, I can see it when I hold it out, but when I place it down, it disappears. That's fine. Don't worry about it. We're then gonna go ahead and we'll just make a little stand for it, just so we can see it easier. Okay. Now I've already made a microcontroller for this. It's called mesh controller. All this is super basic. It's just a bunch of property numbers. And then I have a input for the rotation. That's to feed into like another microcontroller, which, it's whatever, right? But this is basically how it's going to work. It's just a really basic composite array with 6 channels. X, Y, and Z. There's position X, Y, and Z. And then 4, 5, and 6 is just rotation X, Y, Z. You know what I'm saying? So really basic. We go ahead and hook up our composite. Bang. Leave that at 0, 0 for now. But I'll show you what moving it looks like. You just do spawn. Look, there is our engine. Press F2. Alright, that's what it looks like. Our source block is invisible, and see it's called black engine. If I go inside, you can see source block is invisible. There's our cool bike engine. Now, a way of giving it, let's say you want collisions for it for some reason. So yeah, if you want collisions for it, you can just make more voxels like what the devs do. But you have to write in all the voxels manually. It's a bit of a pain. So you don't have to do that. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna go ahead and show you what the little scripts that you hooked up can do. So I'm just going ahead and quickly label my keypads. Hook up the rotation. So 1 goes to 1. So all this is super basic. This is the very basic, right? I mean, it's not rocket science. Just literally just that. 1, 2, 3. The start channel is 1. But it doesn't matter because it's going into its own rotation node. So that doesn't matter because as you can see, it's being read 1, 2, and 3, but it's outputting at 4, 5, and 6. You don't have to do it that way, but yeah. Anyways, right. So let's spawn the vehicle back in. So now let's rotate the mesh. As you can see, if I said 1 to like, I don't know, 1, there you go, the mesh rotates, see? You know, whatever number goes 0.1, moves down just a little bit, 0.05, moves up a little bit, like, see what I mean? So you have really good control here. Like, say you want the engine to move around to tiny bit, like vibrate, well, it's super easy to do, you know what I'm saying? So that's what you get. 3, you can do it in that axis, 10 that axis, you can do all sorts of little rotations. We see how it's rotating around the source block. That's what you have to know. Like, that's why setting the origin in Blender is so important, because if you want to rotate at the hinge of like the door, right, you have to move the origin to where the hinge is on the door and then 0, 0 everything afterwards, right? That's why it's important. I'll show you what happens when you move the mesh. So move the Z, if I move it down the Z axis like 15, right? See, it's all the way down here now, right? So now if I were to rotate it, you'll see it rotates like that, see? Because your origin was set properly in Blender. Right, so when it loads in, it rotates it around the origin, see? But the origin's now over there because you've moved the mesh over there and it's taken that into account. So pretty cool, right? So that is how you can have, like, I'll show you my Satsuma. I'll show you this on a very extreme scale. So by the end of the series, you'll be able to create something like this, where it's extremely highly detailed, you know, model that has a bunch of parts. This vehicle is not finished yet, okay? So give me a break, guys. The wheel moves, you know, the handbrake, you can pull the handbrake. You know, I can never have the hood. I haven't finished the hood yet, okay? So it's kind of messed up. I need to put the hinge in, but the engine's here, like you've got like the crankshaft, it's all there. This is what the game can, this is what you can do with component modding. I can start the engine. As you can see, and give it a little bit of red. So this is custom sounds, I'll get into that later as well. But then you can make something like this. So this is my it's all there. With component blocks you can create physics impulse events. So create physics impulse events looks like something like this. You know, you can make a car fly if you wanted to, or you could do something cool, and like how I made the seats invisible. I'll show you this 3-axis thing. So this is like a more extreme way of doing it. This is just a bunch of meshes that I just made in Blender in 2 seconds. It's literally just a torus, just, you know, done 2 seconds, and it's just using a basic script to rotate it. The seating that's invisible, so it's kind of hard to find it because there's a weird hitbox. But as you can see, this is using just basic physics impulse events, which we'll get into later. You can make cool things like this. This is just useful for like engines or jets. You know, make a jet move a little faster. But I'll show you what you can do. If you crank it up, make a bunch of physics impulse events, you can, you know, go through terrain like so. See? You can phase through terrain sometimes. It's kind of buggy. It goes wherever I look as well. It's just more math. And see, I can stop instantly. See how there's linear speed sensor straight at 940 meters a second. Instant movement. Things like that is what you can do. But yeah, that's pretty much going to be the end of the tutorial, guys. I will make more videos, explain things, how to create things like this. That's basic meshes. If you have any further questions, let me know, guys. See ya.